All right, so we got the Academy Awards tomorrow, um, and they're kind of weird because the mix of movies I think is on a lower scale than where they should be, and if it was a great year for movies, um, and it's just a personal thing because I see a lot of people celebrating these movies, quite significantly, and I just didn't really see it. But yeah, so it makes it for kind of an interesting year, at least for me to see. I'm kind of interested in seeing what the results are going to be at the end of Sunday night, but it's going to be for different reasons than other years, mostly like 2015 and before, kind of that time range. Ever since then, it's just been kind of like maybe one or two standout movies a year rather than maybe five. Um, so yeah, so I'm gonna have two videos here of my top 10, my bottom 10 of the 2025, and yeah, there's kind of a big disclaimer here because I did not see all the movies. If I had more time, the more time I would have away from my actual job, that then of course the more time I would have to see all the movies released. And if it's something that I would be getting paid for or something like that, then I would even see the movies that I don't care to see, and I would still judge them appropriately. But currently, I'm not going to spend my time watching movies that I don't really care to see. So, so there could be some movies missing out of my top 10, and definitely some movies missing out of my bottom 10 that could be in there. So just because I didn't see the War of the Worlds or Snow White does not mean that they does not mean that I like them more than the bottom 10. But kind of a little bit of a disclaimer too here is the first movie I'm going to mention for my top 10 would be number one if it was a new movie, but it's not really a new movie, so I'm not going to include it in the top 10. But it would be my favorite. It was my favorite movie of the year that I saw in theaters. But that was Kill Bill: The Whole Bloody Affair, and there was new things to it. The extended anime sequence, a couple of lines and a couple of shots here and there, and then of course the end credit sequence was all that was all new great stuff, and it was just a joy to really see the movie in a different light and to experience it with an intermission. I've seen some long movies in theaters, and I don't think I've ever seen one with an intermission, so that was good. But yeah, that was a movie that was the movie that it's kind of like you can point to and say, now that was a movie. Um, it's like in True Romance when when we're in the third act and things are about to go down, and Christian Slater is telling Lee, he says, "Yeah, coming home in a body bag. Now that's a movie." And I like movies where you can point to and say, now this. I mean, whether you like it or not, I think you have to say that it has. You could hate the movie, but you have to say it has a style. Um, and of course, the more you like the movie, the more you can say, now that's a movie. But number 10 on my favorite of the year is The Black Phone 2. Now, I was kind of surprised by how many people seem to dislike this. I thought it was great. Everything made sense to me. I saw a lot of people comment that things didn't make sense or the rules were not laid out. And it's like, well, not always do you have to have these rules, laid out in front of you for you to understand the movie, especially if the characters are not even, do they know these rules? So why should the audience know the rules? I don't know. But I thought the movie was really creepy and it had an experience. I remember the theater experience being very good because of the sound, and it had like this constant dread over it. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was on par with the first one, and it's I mean sometimes I mean when I was watching it I was even thinking maybe it's even a little bit better than the first one. Somehow things stepped up in the filmmaking department maybe a little bit here in this one. I really enjoyed it. Number nine is a movie that I at first I was not going to go see, but then something about it said, well, this feels a little bit different. So I'm going to give this one a chance. And that was the Fantastic Four, First Steps. And I had a really great time with this. It seemed like it wanted to tell a, a full story. Obviously, obviously there could be sequels from this. Why not? I mean, it's obviously setting up, you know, future movies, like all the Marvel movies seem to do. But it still felt like a complete story, as because it was wrapping up character arcs and not leaving so many things left to left to future movies to tie together with this one. Sometimes these Marvel movies, they try to leave themselves open to be connected to these other movies, that they forget to tie up things in their own movie. But this one succeeded in not doing that. Then number eight, we have Caught Stealing, and it's really a shame because not that many people went to see it, and I think I know why for the most part, because even though I don't check out trailers that much, I will take some peeks and get the overall feeling of the movie, and I'll just get a gist. But I saw this trailer a lot, and so I I, I still didn't watch enough of it to to really to give away too much. But the overall feeling I got from it was that the tone seemed off. It was like, is this a Snatch movie, or is this kind of like, are they trying to do a parody of these movies almost? And then some of the like moments in the trailer seemed to fall flat. So, but I gave it a chance, and it was actually really good. And like the moments that fell flat in the trailer, those same moments did not fall flat in the movie. So yeah, so maybe not the greatest of trailers, and maybe that's why a lot of people did not go see this. And yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really good. Sure, it could have been maybe a little bit better here. It's not a prime example of this type of movie, but I thought it was very, very solid. Um, then number seven, The Phoenician Scheme. Wes Anderson, he can pump out quality movie after quality movie, and they're great movies to rewatch because sometimes you watch it and you're like, yeah, I liked it. I don't know how I feel about this movie. I don't know if it's in the top half, or, I mean, I hate saying bottom half of his movies, but I mean, because, you're talking about a group of great movies there. But yeah, you're always thinking, well, where in his filmography would I put this? Um, and it's so tough because all of his movies, like I said, all of his movies are at least great, if not like, top shelf. But but yeah, this one, the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. The more I really enjoyed the story it told and how it told again. I thought it was yet again Wes Anderson, but still fresh. I got to watch Wes Anderson movies to get that Wes Anderson feel. It does, and not every single one of his movies are exactly the same. Um, but this one had that feel, but it was still fresh, and it stuck with me. And yeah, I thought it was great. Um, After this, number six, we have a movie where, oh boy, I am so glad that I was not spoiled for this. Thankfully, I really didn't even look at the poster for the movie. There's lots of times I'll take a look at the poster when I'm putting together a thumbnail or something, and I'll be like, oh boy, they really kind of almost gave away something a little bit here. Um, but yeah, in this one, the first act was really great in setting up everything that followed. Like the reason why the second and third acts worked so well was because of what the first act did with its characters and how it was able to be very, you know, layer number three, layer number two above, what's actually going on. So all the characters are talking in a way that makes the audience, well, unless they're spoiled, makes the audience think one thing, but the dialogue is not, you know, unrealistic in that regards. It feels like they're naturally talking about the situation rather than being too direct or too, you know, too coy with everything, with too shady with with how they're saying things. So, yeah, so I think it's really well written dialogue in that regards, and I thought it was a smart movie. It was very, very interesting. It said a lot of things without, like the first act. It said so many things without ever overstating anything. There was great moments of comedy that where it should have been. Yeah, it was a surprise movie that I think was probably the earliest movie that I saw on this list, and yeah, I was very surprised about how good it was. Um, and then number five, a movie where a lot of people it was a letdown, and for the things that they felt was a letdown, I thought was pros, and I felt like all the Mission Impossible movies have done up until that point. This felt like another Mission Impossible movie, and I didn't quite get the negativity about how like the exposition type scenes and how the story was told. Um, I mean, it, yeah, there was a lot of what you would call quote unquote expositionary dialogue, but that's how these movies that's how they're played out. That's the way they're meant to be played out. If if they tried to be more of a if they didn't go that way, if they tried to be more political and kind of lean in on that side of things without talking so much about the specific mission, but being more, oversightful of it, trying to be more, you know, less action movie, I guess you could say, then yeah, you might expect the dialogue to be not better, but just different, more appropriate for that type of movie. Or if it's a really straight up action movie, then you would have different dialogue, and the movie would not be as not complicated because it's pretty straightforward. But there's a lot of moving pieces, and sometimes you want very, very, very few moving pieces and just get straight to just straight on action or something like that. And the Mission Impossible movies, no matter what, they've always been in that middle zone. Two kind of almost started to go down into that territory of going almost straight for the action, straight for the style, but it still had a lot of moving pieces going on with it. So yeah, that did not bother me at all. I liked how it played out. It felt like a Mission Impossible movie and how one should have played out. And then the big action sequences with the silence of the submarine sequence and the openness, the air of the airplane sequence was two of some of the best sequences in the entire series. So I really enjoyed it. Number four, another movie that somehow people can point to some of the smallest things and then harp on those things, and they're almost celebrated for being popularly hated on. And of course, that's always been the way with certain movies over the years. But when it comes to 28 years later, well, it's like I really like the direction the movie took, and the last 3 minutes or whatever of the movie that everyone gets so bent out of shape over. To me, yeah, it comes from out of nowhere. It's bright colors in an otherwise kind of like muted, not muted, but more greens and reds and but darker reds and darker greens, and now we're having like brighter reds and brighter oranges and things like that. So, but the movie changed, but even while I was watching it, I was like, okay, the movie is paying off in a big way that was set up, an hour and 45 minutes ago. The entire movie, you're wondering, where's that kid character from the beginning? When is he going to pop up? He's going to be about this age. I wonder which character we're going to meet that's going to turn out to be him. Is it going to, so the entire time that's kind of like an underlayer thing that you're just constantly thinking about. You get to Ray Fiennes. No, cannot be him. And so the entire time you're wondering and wondering, and you're seeing Jimmy, and you're thinking, is he Jimmy, or is Jimmy something else? Is he someone who's trying to find Jimmy that's going to meet up with? Who knows? Then you finally get to the very, very, very end, and it pays off because you quickly understand, without the movie needing to say anything, that this is that character, and everything makes sense in a matter of just a couple of seconds in your head. And now, to me, it got me excited for the next movie. And I already knew that there was going to be a second movie coming out 6 months later or whatever it was when I was watching the movie. So it really got me excited for that second movie, and just to learn more about that group of characters and exactly what they're doing, and exactly because at the end of the 28 years later, you don't know, are they bad, or obviously they're there to kill the rage infected, but they're obviously kind of, there's something about them. But yeah, so to me the ending really, really worked because Alex Garland knew exactly what the audience, I guess. I'm glad what I was thinking the entire time, waiting for that to be paid off, and it was done in such a kooky but understanding way. It made total sense. Number 3, Begonia. Yorgos Lanthimos, usually a lot of his movies always typically can end up in my top 10 of the year. I would say maybe half of them have, at least. And the past 3 movies that he has made have all been in my top 10 of the year. Poor Things might have been number 2. But Begonia is a great time. It was so smart because, to me, yeah, I forget. I forget what the trailers. I did not watch hardly any of the trailer. Because I knew what I was getting myself into as far as the director and the cast and everything. At that point, I don't care to see the trailer. So yeah, so I really didn't know hardly anything. So I had no sway about what the movie was getting to. So anytime I see like a coin flip situation in a movie like this, especially one where the entire movie is building up to whether this coin flip is going to turn out to be, is she an alien or not? I figure at that point, a good movie could be 50-50 by the end of it almost. Unless it's trying to, lead you one way, then totally turn things around and reveal something else. But I thought Begonia did a really great job of making me believe that it was truly a 50-50 possibility whether she was an alien or not by the end of the movie. And I think some people said that they knew the entire time or something like that. And maybe if you watch the trailer, perhaps, I don't know. But for me, it was super, super interesting, the entire movie. There was a lot of good laughs, kind of like the and most of these movies on this list that do have laughs in an otherwise not a comedy movie, they always fit really well. And Begonia, they fit really well because you are in a situation where you're like, this wacky guy and his friend, if you want to say that, they're claiming this CEO of all people is an alien, and they're doing some things in the movie that is just straight up like they're not just interested in aliens. They might need to go to the loony bin. Well, at least one of them. But yeah, it just is such a simple premise that is just like it's expertly hold your attention the entire way, and is just surprisingly well done. Because, well, to be honest, so many other movies could fail, it would try to go too hard in one direction, and this movie goes in the direction that it needs to, like I say, stay in that 50-50 slot. All right, so now that brings us to the top two of the year, and I was kind of a little bit back and forth on these, but there was one that I just I just personally got the most out of. But number two is One Battle After Another. Um, this was a movie that is interesting to me. I mean, for so many reasons. But the number one reason is that I saw a movie that did not glorify um, the subject matter that it was. Well, I guess the subject matters that it was discussing, um, and it did not try to. It was really showing two aspects of life that can split people, but they were kind of not related to the other subject matter that was on the screen. I barely know what I'm talking about, but if that makes sense, I mean, like for instance, Sean Penn's character, he works for like like military police. I forget exactly what. I mean, he's obviously like the commander of a force that goes in there and clears out, I guess, illegals. Um, I need to watch the movie again to try and get some of the specifics, but obviously he works on behalf of the government, whereas the other side is more of a civilian side. But yeah, but the movie's not anti-government because it's just portraying his character as a white supremacist, and I think some people might have viewed that as, oh, the movie was kind of like making an anti-government stance or trying to relate government with white supremacists or something like that. I never saw that. But then, like on the flip side of the movie, you have protesters who are doing a little bit more than protesting. They're more stirring the flames a little bit more, and but then the movie shows things that happen to them that's not good results of what they're doing. They're paying for what they're doing. They're getting arrested. Some of them are dying. Some of them, you know, you know the we're seeing characters do things that you know they're they're displaying qualities of people, and everything that's happening to them is being very negative, and it's not saying that what their cause is. The movie's not taking a side about their cause. It's just saying, well, these people are going too far for what they're for what they're believing in. Um, so yeah, so I kind of saw that, and but a lot of people saw the movie trying to force some narrative down the throats of all the moviegoers, and I think a lesser movie would have done that because either they wanted to or they didn't know how to stay away from that. And yeah, I totally I really enjoyed that the movie did not try to go down that pathway really at all. It came close to it, but then quickly veered off and did its own thing. And once again, a standout movie for the sound and the filming. I know all about the film stock and cameras that they used and how they did it, and I knew that because when I watched the movie, I could tell it, and then yeah, and then I looked up afterwards, and yeah, there's good behind the scenes things going on that really reveal itself in the movie to quite an extent that kind of like Kill Bill. I walked out and I was like, well, now that's a movie. Um, and then my favorite movie of the year, uh, not going to be on a lot of people's top 10 because I think some people just have, I don't know what it is about the Avatar franchise, but to me, Avatar Fire and Ash was excellent. I was like, I was blown away by how good it was because to me, it needs to tell the story. It needs to tell a character arc and a plot arc with these characters over the course of maybe 5 movies. It's kind of hard to gauge because I've seen at first it was like a trio, then six, then four, and okay, maybe it's five. But the entire time I'm like, okay, so I know we have about 5 movies, hopefully at this point, which obviously this movie made hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, if you look at it compared to the previous 2 movies, how much they earned, yeah, it didn't make as much, but I mean, it really has a lot going against it to try and make that much. That's crazy to try and say that this movie is a failure at all just because it didn't make 2.3 billion. But apart from that, I really really like the movie. Like yeah, visually it's like the cinematography, even though we're in a mostly CGI world, it's still like it feels very very like real world in the way that it's shot and the way that it looks like the water like yeah, the second movie had better CGI than the first movie, but I can even tell an extra little bump up in this movie. And at the Academy Awards, if it does not win for best, visual effects, then I'm gonna guess the only reason is just because the first 2 movies won, so let's give it to somebody else. But honestly, it deserves that. But on top of that, the the characters, the story, how things played out, how it felt like. Once again, some of the criticisms were, "Oh, it's just the second movie all over again." Well, it's the second half of that movie. Um, I mean, it felt like the second half of a movie. So for being the second half of a movie and the middle movie of a five, you know, humongous. I don't know what the word is at that point. Uh, Quintrilogy. That doesn't even make sense. But 5 movie gigantic arc where the movies focus mostly on personal human connecting, like the stories on the screen are there to be open enough to let people from around the world make a connection to these inhuman characters. So when an entire series has to spend, what would it be, 15 hours telling this gigantic story, but having the plots be not overly detailed whatsoever, which is perfectly fine by me because that fits this movie. It's kind of like how Mission Impossible. It fit those style movies the way they're told. Well, I like the way the Avatar movies are told. They have to be told in this way to be able to connect with the audience the way that James Cameron wants the audience to connect with it. And so, yeah, I really really enjoyed how I was able to find a connection and understanding of different aspects of life with so many different characters, and follow so many pairings of characters or trios of characters, and seeing how they all work, and being able to visualize where everyone in this world is throughout all points of the movie and how things are moving along. I could go on and on about the movie. Um, I wish it was. I mean, it didn't even get a nomination at the Academy Awards for Best Movie of the Year. Um, but yeah, it was my favorite. Yeah, I can combat. I can argue against everyone's faults with it, but I think it's just a movie that's just not for everyone for whatever reason. Now, why they are watching the third movie, they must have liked the first 2 enough to watch the third one, but then the third one was not good enough for them to like it for some reason. If they already liked the first 2, I don't know. It would take a lot for me to dislike an Avatar movie, and I guess since it's number 1 of the year, that means it would take a lot for me to even have it not be in my top 10. So yeah, so I have high expectations for the Avatar movies, and this one just was just way up there for me.